This show is sponsored by Bitonic. Invest in Bitcoin with ease.
Connetti il mondo.
Jason, Tando, Kenya.
You listed the Connect the World intro jingle as your favorite tune, which we take as, of course, a massive compliment. Would you say it's become your unofficial soundtrack for spinning up notes or setting off new adventures?
Yes.
Football or soccer, depending on the time zone, is your go-to sport. Is it fair to say your loyalty to a team has changed depending on where you've lived?
No.
You visited all 7 continents and over 140 countries. That's next level nomadic. But let's be real, have you ever packed more than a carry-on?
Yes.
Tacos are your favorite food, respect. But have you ever eaten tacos 3 days in a row and still craved for more?
Yes.
With multiple successful exits under your belt, your startup resume is pretty stacked. Was your wildest pitch ever delivered over a bad Zoom connection in a noisy cafe?
No.
Sparkling water as your drink of choice is bold and bubbly. Is Gerolsteiner in your top 5 travel essentials?
Yes.
Memento is one of those films that scrambles your brain in the best way. Did it leave you questioning whether you'd watched it backwards or your brain just glitched?
Yes.
Tim Ferriss has inspired countless 4-hour experiments in lifestyle design. Have you personally found one of his techniques that stuck with you long term?
Yes.
You're not shy about your Bitcoin enthusiasm. Has someone ever backed away slowly when you started talking about Austrian economics?
Yes.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
No.
Welcome to the Connect the World weekly podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Steph. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. This is episode 136 already of Connect the World, and this show is made possible by our friends from Bitonic and BRINGIN. Thank you guys for helping us with our mission to connect the world with Bitcoin through the Lightning Network. And if you also want to help out, and of course you do, then follow us on X or on Nostrdam, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you have any questions at all, you can head over to one of our Telegram groups and you can ask us anything.
Conecta el mundo.
Welcome, Jason.
Well, yeah, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
All the way from
good
Kenya.
to have you. That's a long way.
Yeah, and you're living in Kenya now for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I've been here for almost 3 years now. So
Yeah,
I've been digital nomading for a while. I've kind of settled down here in Kenya.
Yeah.
But is it real settling down? I mean, are you able to settle down somewhere? I mean, if you visited 140 countries, I mean, isn't it that sometimes it tickles a bit, or you're getting restless and you think, well, is this it, or are you able to settle a bit?
Yeah, well, the itch will always be there. You know, there's always something new to explore. My ultimate goal is to ultimately go to space at one point. But we got to come down a bit more, or Bitcoin to go up more before I can get there.
That's on your bucket list.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
Yeah, and that.
Hey, I saw also on your bucket list going to Antarctica, right?
I've been there once, and I'd love to go back. Yeah.
Oh man,
you've been there.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and what was the purpose of the trip? Just for holiday purposes or professional?
Yeah,
or?
check it off the bucket list. Going to all 7 continents is a pretty something that's very rare amongst people, and so I thought that'd be pretty cool. And
It is.
I always comment about like seeing the planet in its most pure form, like unadulterated, no buildings, no construction, just the planet how it was originally formed. It's just amazing to see.
Yeah.
And then next stop from space, of course, you can see the planet with your own eyes from a distance.
Yep.
That's just crazy.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. And is Antarctica also then the place you visited that excited you the most, or that surprised you the most, or are there other countries that were more surprising to you?
Well, it was certainly the most unique, just because there's nothing there, right? It's just you and the penguins, essentially.
Yeah.
But uniqueness, I'd say Japan is up there by far. It's one of the most unique countries on the planet.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
So, Japan is on my bucket list right now. If someone who has traveled 7 continents and over 150 or 140 countries says that Japan is among his top 5, you said, then it's also on my bucket list.
Because how many continents did you travel, Steph?
I need to think of that. I think only 4 on top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, 4, I think.
Then still 3 to go, and one of them is Antarctica. So that's
no.
I mean, respect. If you don't do Antarctica, then everybody understands.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I also asked you: is it fair to say your loyalty to a football team or soccer? Because you were born in the States, right? So it's soccer for you, I guess. Mm-hmm. Has changed depending on where you lived. You said no, but what's your favorite team then?
Well, I usually only watch during the World Cup, so you got to root for the home team.
Okay, so just international football then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't have the time to
cool.
follow league or anything like that. So.
No, I can imagine. How's the football? For me, it's football culture in Kenya. Is it? Do they have like a real professional football culture there, or?
They do. I don't follow it that closely. I know the women's rugby just won, for whatever that's worth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Cool. That's nice. Hey, and well, as we already talked a bit about it, you're a real digital nomad. You traveled a lot. But I also learned that you had a couple of startups that were successful. Some weren't, obviously. That's how it goes with a startup. And now you've ended up with Tando, which we are going to talk about very soon. But I was wondering, what's your background? I mean, can you tell us a bit about the journey that brought you to Tando, and what did you do before Tando?
Yeah, I guess I've just been an entrepreneur all my life, tinkering, teaching myself how to build websites and how to embed audio into Netscape 4 websites, and so I've been around the block in terms of kind of watching the internet evolve, and then. At one point, I started building a project management tool for a small boutique web firm in Los Angeles, and it turned into a bigger project. And then I learned the very valuable lesson that if you're going to build something for yourself versus a company you work for, because they will take all the rights to it. And so,
the rat race.
So from that point forward, I pretty much would only build my own ideas under my own umbrella, or my own company, if you will.
Okay, and can you give us some what did you build? Do you have some things where we can know you from?
Let's see, how far back should we go? I mean, I built one of my first projects was a way to kind of build custom CDs. This is long before Spotify or iPods existed, where I had a whole collection of like 5,000 CDs, and I went and put every single track in a database, and you could pick which one you wanted, and I would burn a custom CD for you before I knew that was illegal, so I stopped doing that. Then I later moved on to, like I said, the project management tool, which was built for that other company. What else did I work on? I worked on a crowdfunding website before crowdfunding was even a term, before Kickstarter was around. Then I worked with a couple partners on a project that was like a social gaming platform where you could each take turns DJing in real time, and you have like a chat room, and there's a way to like discover music and chat in real time with other people that like the kind of music you did. So those were a few of them.
Okay, cool. So
that's fun.
That's a pretty impressive list you have there. And now, we ended up here at Tando in Kenya. of all places. I mean, yeah, it's a whole different world from Los Angeles to Kenya. I can imagine that's quite big of a culture shock. Not for you maybe, but for people that are from places like LA, or for me, I'm living close to Amsterdam. So we really want to ask you all kinds of questions about Tando, obviously, and learn about the project. Ramon, by the way, our producer, he not so long ago he traveled to Kenya, and he basically lived on a Bitcoin standard thanks to Tando. He told us, told us that the very first thing he did was book a cab from the airport when he was arriving in Kenya in the very early morning, and he just paid it with Tando. So he really had his hands on, and he is very enthusiastic about the project. So that's cool. Like I said, he basically lived off a Bitcoin standard there. So he is very flabbergasted by the project. So we really want to know more about it. So if you also like Jason, we would really love to enter the 21 minutes and talk about it.
Let's do it.
The 21 Minutes is brought to you by BRINGIN, the app to reliably sell and spend Bitcoin from any wallet. I think it's good to start a little bit, a couple of questions about Bitcoin adoption specifically in Kenya, to understand better why Tando really works there. What do you think makes Kenya especially fertile ground for Bitcoin adoption compared to other African countries?
I think it has something to do with the fact that they already went through a mobile money revolution with M-Pesa back in 2007. Yep. And so they're very familiar with money existing on your phone. And so it's not a huge stretch to say, here's a different money also on your phone. And it works almost identical to the money you're already used to. It's just a slightly different currency that no central government controls. So.
Yeah. And.
Yeah, I was thinking that so the government or M-Pesa was introduced, I think, 2007, right? And I think, well, why is it? Was it only there? Isn't there any collaboration with other countries or neighboring countries? It must mean something that Kenya is the only one that really did that back then, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. The story I heard was that originally it started like you would go to a store and you would buy essentially almost a gift card for minutes for your phone. And then you could load your phone up with this. You put in like a 16-digit code into your phone, you get minutes. And then people realized that they could trade the minutes from one person to another. And then it's just a form of currency, really. It's just a form of value. It's on your phone. And so then the company realized, we could actually turn this into a product, and off they went.
And you also said in another interview that Kenyans prefer using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange over a store of value. How do you think that shapes the kind of Bitcoin apps that will succeed there? Because in our world, in here in Europe or in the States, people are shifting towards only using Bitcoin as a store of value. So all the apps obviously are also focusing on that. So we can really see two complete different worlds. How do you see that?
Yeah, well, I always like to make the point that when the Bitcoin entered your wallet, it was a medium of exchange. So it started as a medium of exchange before it became a store of value. So you can't have one without the other. And then I like what Newt's phone home always talks about. Like, it's the two sides of the same coin, you know? Like, it's just a matter of time is the only difference. So you're storing value over time, and then at some point you want to realize that value and turn it into a medium of exchange to buy goods, services, food, shelter, clothing, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you can't use it as a medium of exchange, it's not interesting to store it.
Exactly.
At all.
Right.
So
even if it's multiple generations
that's a good point.
In your lineage is going to turn it into something of value.
Absolutely. Yeah, true. Well, Jason, with Tando, you want to empower users to skip fiat entirely, right? Just earn, save, and spend in Bitcoin. But given that the Kenyan shilling is still stable for many, what's the trigger that convinces locals to switch?
Well, I think there's a couple different efforts going on at the same time, right? There's a lot of crypto people in Kenya because the crypto companies can come in here and basically bribe everyone, which is unfortunate. But that makes a lot of it's called low-hanging fruit. People that are familiar with private keys and how to set up a wallet and things like that. So that's good for Tando. We just have to convince them to now come over to Bitcoin. Some other efforts is like the circular economies, and there's an organization called BitBiashara, which basically translates to Bit Business. Biashara means business in Swahili. And so they're trying to onboard a lot of businesses. And so we really discovered through Tando that there is a kind of a chicken and egg problem in that if you don't have, it's kind of like the Uber model. If you've got riders but no drivers, the whole system falls apart, and vice versa. Same case. So you need to either focus on one to solve the two-sided marketplace. And so we focused obviously on spenders, and we figured that once there's enough spenders, businesses will realize, oh, okay, there's all these people that are willing to spend their Bitcoin. Now I'm willing to accept it. And also it gives, with Tando, the businesses can also know that they can go to their suppliers and spend the Bitcoin they receive to restock their shelves. So kind of like it short circuits that chicken and egg problem by just focusing on, let's say, the chicken. And it kind of gets that flywheel going of circular economies. So.
Yeah, and you or Sabina, who is your wife, by the way, mentioned the phrase proof of spend as a way to orange pill people. I really like that phrase. Can you talk more about how this real life use changes perception faster than only education?
Sure. I think as Bitcoiners, we kind of get caught up in our own little bubble a lot of times, and we forget that there's a whole nother world out there. And so, we believe in this magic internet money, but when you can actually turn this magic internet money into goods and services, you can walk into a store and buy a bottle of water, then it actually feels like money. Now it's a money that you believe in, right? And one of the problems here in Kenya is that a lot of people have been scammed around Bitcoin and crypto. And so even if Bitcoin was a scam, doesn't matter. You can walk in a store, you can turn this scam money into a bottle of water, and that's all you care about, right? And now you no longer have the scam token. Of course, we know it's not a scam, but for the average person that hasn't gone down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and studied 10,000 hours, it doesn't matter. They just want to turn it into goods and services, and so Tando makes it easy.
So if it works, then they use it.
Right. Yeah. And then they believe in it more, and then maybe they'll do the research and actually discover, okay, I should save this instead of spending it, but teach their own.
Well, Tando plugs into the M-Pesa API to enable Lightning payments. Can you walk us through technically how that works in the backend from invoice creation to the shilling payout?
Sure. So we basically keep a liquidity pool of Kenyan shillings to meet customer demand. And we tried to make the app mimic the M-Pesa experience as close as possible. So in Kenya, there's 3 different ways to pay. You can do send money, buy goods, and pay bill. And basically, it comes down to enter an account number and the amount of shillings you want to send. And we will generate a Lightning invoice in real time for that exact amount. And then you pay the invoice. And once we receive that Lightning payment, proof of payment, then we release the Kenyan shillings out to the endpoint that you entered into the app. And it happens in a few seconds.
I was just wanted to say that is just lightning fast, right? I mean, the Lightning network is fast, but M-Pesa being also a digital rail to connect those two services is like, it should be lightning fast. Well, obviously depending on the circumstances, like the internet connection you have and all, but it should be lightning fast then. And we were told that you are covering all the M-Pesa transaction fees right now, or not you personally, well, maybe also you personally, but Tando, I mean, how sustainable is that model? And do you foresee eventually charging a small spread or fee? I mean, you got to earn something somehow, right?
Yeah, we keep getting to the point where maybe we should turn on fees, but then we just back off because everyone just loves that so much. And so, we want to keep it's still very early. We've only been in production for maybe 3-4 months now, I think. And so I think we got a ways to go. And, as a company, we can sort of, I've been in Bitcoin for a while, and I'm not a trader, but I can kind of get a sense for, where's a local top? And I can sell some of the Bitcoin to replenish our fiat liquidity liquidity, and then as people are spending within the app, now they're sending us Bitcoin at cheaper rates, so we're getting more Bitcoin than we had. It's not a long-term profit model, but it works for now to keep the boat shipping.
Yeah, just to keep it
and
going.
I saw that because you said that you're just 3 months in production now, but I saw that you already exceeded the 10,000 downloads on Android. It was, I think.
That was not downloads. That was number of transactions completed. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
okay.
that was transaction, and over 1,000 downloads. Then it was 1,000 downloads.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that are pretty impressive numbers, right? Are they still increasing? Do you still see an increase?
Oh yeah. It's interesting. During the recent volatility to the downside, we saw a lot more volume go through, which is kind of interesting. We're still trying to figure out what is the pattern of the spenders. We don't know that yet. I'd love to get a better sense of when to, Sundays are kind of low. I think people are just at home, but other than that, it's kind of all over the map. So it's fun to keep on top of.
Yeah, and Ramon is telling us, our producer, that he was responsible for 1,000 transactions when he was in Kenya. So I think you maybe saw a spike there.
That was when he was there. Hey, you've intentionally avoided custody with Tando, of course, and instead opted for bring your own Bitcoin wallet model. On the website, there are a lot of wallets that people can choose from. Why did you take that approach, and what are maybe some trade-offs that it brought to you?
Well, money is a very personal thing, and everyone has different preferences on how they want to store it. Whether they want to, their own custody, whether they want to trust their custody with someone else. We don't want to play favorites. There's so many good wallets out there. So why just pick one? And so we let people bring whatever wallet they want. And we don't do any custody. We don't want to hold your money. That's your responsibility. We just want to provide the gateway to help you get on with your day and spend wherever you need to.
Yeah, and you've built on Lightning for the speed and affordability. And are there some Lightning wallets that work better than others with Tando? Do you see differences in that? And what do you tell users when they hit payment size limit or routing issues, for instance?
Well, we're using the Phoenix Daemon server on the back end. So I think using the Phoenix wallet would probably be just obviously a better pairing. But we really don't notice too many differences. And we've used everything from Machinkura to Blink, Wallet Satoshi. They all work great.
That's good to hear, yeah.
Because Phoenix has such good connectivity and liquidity across their nodes. So
yeah, so you're not running your own nodes, right?
No, not yet. We figured let's go with the easiest way to just get an MVP out there and see if this thing actually works. And it worked great. And they're really phenomenal in terms of handling liquidity, which is not something, we're a small team, so we've got our hands full. And so letting them know
that's something you don't want to, you want to rely on something that keeps working. So
and support other Lightning businesses, Bitcoin businesses. They're doing a good job. And so, we don't mind paying them a small fee for their service.
No, of course. Yeah. Well, like we told before, M-Pesa is dominant in Kenya, but you're also looking at other mobile money networks across Kenya, across Africa. I was thinking, are you also planning for expanding to, for example, Uganda or Tanzania or other countries?
Yeah, we've actually done a test transaction into Uganda. But the first version of the app was very Kenya-centric because, like I said earlier, there's 3 payment methods in Kenya, which don't exist in all the other countries. So in some other countries, it might just be mobile money. It might just be one option. So we kind of have to adapt the app to be flexible to work depending on which country you're spending your Bitcoin in.
Yeah, but that might be really groundbreaking, right? I mean, if you have just one app that people can use in also neighboring countries. I can imagine, I don't know if people travel a lot, but especially for people that do, but also tourists or something, they just have one app to use. I think that's pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, and we've seen other companies, I don't want to say copy, but they were inspired by, maybe a better word, to build very similar tools because we launched it at the ABC conference here in Nairobi in December, and everyone was talking about it. It was the app of the conference, and so it inspired a lot of other people to build their own versions, one in Ghana, one in Senegal, even one in Indonesia. And so, yeah, we could essentially make Tando like the wrapper that works across any country that has this service. So we just use your API. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Hey, you already mentioned people from India, Indonesia, but we also heard that people from the Ivory Coast are also asking for Tando. What is still needed from your side, technically and legally, to expand to those places? I can imagine that also legally it's quite a big thing to solve, right? To be operating legally in those places.
Yeah, well, I think the way to go about it is to partner with entities that we call them PSPs, payment service providers, here in Africa. And so find organizations that already do that, because there's so many that are trying to solve the cross-border payment problem. And so there you can find almost probably 40 of the 54 countries have some PSP running. And so it'd be a matter of partnering with them. And hopefully the country is not too anti-Bitcoin. And hopefully the other is we don't have to set up an entity in each country, because that would be a big headache. So hopefully we can just have our Kenyan entity partner with all these, their APIs and just, get everyone spending Bitcoin on the continent.
Yeah. Ramon just added a question, and it is interesting. If you, I was immediately thinking of using Tando for remittances, because if you have a Kenyan number and you live abroad, you can of course easily send money home, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen people do that from Canada, from the US, from Belgium. People, all you need is a Kenyan endpoint, and you can send money in there.
That's great. Yeah. Really is. The Kenyan government hasn't officially legalized or banned Bitcoin. How are you navigating through the regulatory uncertainty, especially if Tando will grow even further? Or do you think, those problems will be something for way further ahead?
Yeah, right now it's a bit of a gray zone. The last official declaration was from the Central Bank of Kenya, and they basically gave individuals a warning, said, crypto is volatile, and this was like 5 years ago or something. Crypto is volatile, be careful, you could lose all your money. And that's fine, because we're receiving Bitcoin as payment for our service, and we know what it is, so we don't mind the volatility, so we can handle that ourselves. And I think that's actually the proper approach. Like, let individuals know that, okay, do your own research, and good luck. But Kenya's about to, probably in the next 2 or 3 months, they're passing some regulations. They got some pressure from the IMF and FATF to get their act together, and so we'll see what those regulations are. But the way we see it is, kind of like you alluded to earlier, remittances, but also tourists coming into the country. Bitcoin being this, 1.7 and growing $1 trillion asset. Tourism is a big industry here, and now, just like every country wants to bring dollars into their country, why wouldn't every country want to bring Bitcoin into their country? So it's just a great way to spend Bitcoin. If you're only here for a week on a safari, you're not going to go down to the get a SIM and swap out your SIM card. And so you can't actually spend money here other than on a credit card. And, that's just putting more money in the pockets of Visa and MasterCard, where you could be supporting the local economy and the local company Safaricom runs and pays.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Hey, and you talked about some regulations that are coming. There's a proposed VASP, so Virtual Asset Service Provider bill in Kenya. Was that the one you were referring to?
Exactly, yes.
But how might that affect Tando and your ability to stay non-custodial and KYC free, which you are now?
That's a very good question. If I was a lawyer, I'd give you a better answer.
Okay, so it's not really clear to you still yet how this is is going to affect Tando then.
Right. And it seems like, from what I've heard, there's ways to get carve-outs. We still don't know a lot of the details. So, it's to be determined. But as far as I know, it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the country. It's a win for Safaricom. It's a win for tourists. It's a win for locals. So I don't really see any downsides. So hopefully they let us keep operating as is.
Yeah. When I was looking at the talk you gave in Cape Town, some of the audience members also asked about the built-in learning feature, like Blink's Learning tab. I immediately thought of the first time I used Blink, and I thought it was very interesting for, of course, no-coiners and people that are not used to Bitcoin or think it is a scam, and to learn more. Would Tando ever add onboarding flows or in-app education, especially tailored for Kenyan audience?
Yeah, I mean, our next app is going to have better onboarding. Like I said, this is kind of an MVP that we kind of threw out there to see if it worked, and it does. In terms of education, we definitely want to help people that are not that familiar with, not everyone even has a Lightning wallet. So we got to help them get that. And then we have to help them get Bitcoin into that wallet. So we'll do some more education in terms of getting onboarded. But one of the cool things about Kenyans is they learn very quick, and the word spreads. Like as soon as because since Tando saves you transaction fees, there's an incentive to use it, and then you tell your friend, "Hey, I'm saving money using Tando. It would otherwise good." And so the word gets around, and people figure it out pretty quickly.
That works.
Yeah, it's also a very young population, and young people pick up technology like very quickly. So.
True. Yeah. Hey, and you've mentioned one future direction is helping businesses to accept Bitcoin natively. What would that look like? Will you launch a merchant tool or a point of sale app, or use an integration like BTC Pay Server? What are the future plans?
Yeah, well, I think you spoke to Noeline from Kenya as well a couple of episodes ago, and she was explaining how in Kibra, which is a informal settlement where there's a Bitcoin circular economy growing, she was that ticking. So speaking with Ronnie, who runs that organization, he was saying that now that merchants are comfortable accepting Bitcoin, they want more tools to accept it because they're no longer locked in Bitcoin as the last recipient. So we do want to work on a BTC Pay extension so that you can receive Bitcoin alongside M-Pesa, and that way you can choose as a merchant what percentage of this do you want to go to Bitcoin, what percentage do you want to be in local shillings, and then we could just have more people with more Bitcoin spending it all around the country.
Even better. Yeah, well, just saved by the bell. It was just amazing. Normally it's just over the time, but it doesn't matter. Well, thanks again. I think those future questions are very interesting because there were a lot more, but this is something, we will keep following Tando, of course. So thanks again.
Connect the build.
And we have still one question left for you, Jason. And the fun thing is that you may choose yourself. So we pre-recorded a question from Avi Bura. He is a Nostr evangelist. And Pierre Corbin, and he's from Flash. So which one will it be?
Let's go the Nostr evangelist.
All right, here it comes.
Hi, I'm Avi Burrow, and here's my question for you. When are you going to integrate Nostr into your app?
Oh, this is a good one, actually.
That's a perfect question. We actually already do have Nostr private keys and public keys. Since there's no KYC, we need a way to identify each app user. And so we do have keys in the background. And in the next version of the app, we'll have you'll be able to have customer support directly with Tando through Nostr Chat. So that's all.
Oh, great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
This is an ideal world for Avi Bura, Jason.
It is. And I was also thinking about what you said in the pre-talk before the 21 minutes about your history with internet. And I can imagine that Nostr maybe resonates also a little bit about thinking about something totally new. So great to have those two worlds come together. So
absolutely, freedom tech and freedom to communicate and freedom of transactions.
Great.
Conectado Lumea.
So where can people follow you, Jason, and obviously Tando and all the things you guys are working on?
Yeah, the website is tando.me, and the Twitter handle is tando_me.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can find all our other socials in the footer of the website, Nostr and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks again. And thanks to everybody else who's listening in. And of course, thanks to everyone helping to connect the world with us. So if you like our content, then please support us in our mission. Visit our website, connecttheworld.live, where you can also make a donation. And subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. So remember, we need you to complete our mission, connect the world. So keep those nodes running, sats flowing, and use Tando if you are in Kenya, like Roman did. And see you all next week on the same Lightning channel. Hello, Jason.
Adieu.
Bye-bye.